This is Getting On With Life, Biblical Wisdom for Successful Christian Living. I'm Chris Field, and this lesson is The World Looks Different Now. People have written books about worldview differences based on foundational ideas of socialism, New Age, Christianity, materialism, and so on. People interpret what they see based on their worldview, so it's valuable to understand their point of view when understanding them or interpreting their messages. The Christian worldview has two dimensions to it that I'd like you to consider. One is the basic Christian concept of the world, with belief in God and man's accountability to God, the saving work of Christ, and Christian living. Christians see people, material goods, meaning of life, value of life, what truth is, and many other things quite differently to those who are from a non-Christian perspective. However, that Christian worldview can be conceptual on the one hand and experienced on the other. That's what I mean by the two dimensions of that worldview. When a person understands Bible truth and Christian concepts, they can subscribe to them and use them as a grid through which to see and understand the world. In Western society a century ago, the prevailing worldview was Christian, and that influenced many aspects of society, such as law, morality, social mores, and so on. However, to experience salvation and a living relationship with God through Christ is vastly different to subscribing to Christian ideas and values. A real faith experience not only influences our mind and understanding, but it transforms who we are. For example, it's one thing to say we should be kind and forgiving, and quite another to have the Holy Spirit's power within prompting us to respond like we've never done before. That's far more than a matter of conceptual understanding. That's the power of a transformed life. Note what it says in Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so you can prove the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. And see Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 19. I will give them a united heart, and put a new spirit in them, and I will take the heart of stone out of their flesh, and give them a heart of flesh. And see also 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Anyone belonging to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone. All things are new for them. It's no use trying to explain that difference, since it's experiential, not cognitive. It doesn't come by analysis or practice, but by simply being transformed by God. Many people who have come to faith have found that the world looks different now. They not only see things differently, they feel different, and they have different stirrings within them, not just their own self at work, but God's Holy Spirit at work within them. Being spiritual, as in being born again and having God's Holy Spirit within us, gives us capacity to see things from God's spiritual perspective, aided by the promptings and insights provided by the Holy Spirit. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 15, it says, people who are guided by the Spirit can make all kinds of appraisals of things. Spiritual people step off the treadmill of this life, where people try to make things happen based on their own efforts, and they rest in their relationship with God. Note what it says in Isaiah chapter 55, verse 2. Why do you spend your money for what is not bread, and your wages for what does not satisfy? And in Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 13, they carved for themselves cracked water storage, unable to hold water. Life is not about getting ahead or being happy or finding oneself or proving ourselves to others, but life is about glorifying and serving God and enjoying the blessings of God now and through eternity. Now that you are God's child, your whole orientation of life is changed. Your attitude to what you do, think, and say is seen in the light of your relationship with God. Your attitudes to this world and its trinkets and pleasures, its money and allures, changes. Your attitude to doing what is right, even if you don't find any good in doing it, changes. Your attitude to sharing your faith and building God's kingdom changes. Your heart toward people, including the unsaved, those who are abandoned, those in need, and those who are your enemies, changes. The years stretching ahead of you and the litter of your past life look different now. The goal for the end of your race looks different now. The value of shiny new things or the latest and greatest gadgets looks different now. The value of sharing with people who love God deeply is different to what it was. The worth of studying the Bible or praying is different now. Your life takes on new purpose and meaning, abandoning the idea that life is all about you, your happiness, and you achieving what you deem important. You now have a world of new possibilities, new joys, new things to do, new people to meet, new prayers to pray, and new faith to live out. I trust for each of you that the joy of your salvation courses through you, and you can continue to say, "The world looks different now." God bless you.